Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, we're going to react to tornado close calls. So I'm guessing this is going to be, situations where people have, maybe they're in their house, they're in their car, and a tornado is, close to them, but the person doesn't think, oh, it's not that close to me. I don't have anything to worry about, only for the tornado to move quickly in their direction. And then suddenly you're thinking, oh my God, please don't let this tornado hit my house. That's got to be one of the scariest, situations to be in, because tornadoes, as we know, can be hugely powerful. I've seen a tornado, not in person, on video, like move a train, a train carriage that probably weighs 50 tons, probably more. So these things are hugely powerful.
When a tornado drops from the sky, it's never a good situation. I mean, technically, if it's out in the middle of like a field and no one gets hurt, that's actually an amazing situation.
Yeah.
Tornadoes are so beautiful. But 99% of the time, it's a bad situation. People lose lives, property is destroyed, towns and cities are destroyed. It's not good. But there have been many tornado situations that could have been a lot worse. And that's what we're talking about in today's video on tornado close calls. From a tornado dropping less than a mile away from a stadium of 50,000 people to a tornado heading towards a traffic jam. Those are just a few of the 6 tornado close calls that we are talking about today. And we're starting off with number 6, tornado versus nuclear power plant.
What?
Now, 2 things that definitely do not mix are nuclear power plants and tornadoes. And on Wednesday, June 24th, 1998, that very thing happened when an F2 tornado struck the Davis-Besse nuclear power station in Oak Harbor, Ohio, some 25 miles east of Toledo. The funnel cloud was spotted by several workers near the cooling tower just before it struck. The damage was pretty minimal, however, the switchyard of the plant was destroyed, and access to outside power was completely cut off at 8:42. This resulted in the reactor of the plant automatically shutting down. At 9:18 p.m., a low-level alert was issued. Until external power could be restored, the plant's emergency diesel generators kept vital facility safety systems running. Fortunately, external power was quickly restored and a nuclear catastrophe was avoided. After the incident, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission sent a team of experts for an inspection. This was an F2 tornado believed to be about 100 yards wide with winds around 130 miles per hour. It does make one wonder, what if the tornado was an F3 or an F5? What if an F5 tornado that was a mile wide destroyed the backup diesel generators? It's pretty terrifying when you think about it. This scenario would make a great disaster movie.
It probably would, actually.
Oh wait, this is the exact plot of the 2002 made-for-TV movie Atomic Twister. Yeah, I watched Atomic Twister, not the best movie ever made. In fact, it was kind of cheesy, pretty bad.
The transformer just got hit by a tornado. And Stu's dead.
But it does make one wonder.
Great acting right there. Oscar-worthy.
What would have happened if a larger and more powerful tornado hit a nuclear power plant? Oh, and by the way, Ohio has had some pretty powerful tornadoes in the past. Wait a second.
Honestly though, good thing that the tornado wasn't more powerful, because like he said, if it hit those backup generators and all the safety mechanisms were disabled, you're going to have another, like, Fukushima, potentially. Like nuclear reactors are quite safe, but when they go wrong, they go very wrong, don't they?
Wait. Oh, no. We're moving on to number 5, the 2008 Georgia Dome basketball incident. This may have been the most important basketball shot ever made. During the second round of the SEC Conference basketball tournament in 2008, Mississippi State was leading Alabama by 3 points. However, in the last seconds of the game, Alabama player Mikael Riley scored a 3-pointer, which tied the game and sent it into overtime. During overtime play, an F2 tornado would hit downtown Atlanta, including the arena where the game was taking place, the Georgia Dome. The exact moment when the tornado hit was with 2 minutes and 11 seconds left in overtime. The moment was captured live on TV.
Wow, you can see people like looking around thinking, what's going on here? I'd be concerned as well, to be honest, wouldn't you?
The players scrambled into the locker room as bits of debris fell from the ceiling, and the rafters could clearly be seen swinging from the roof. The tornado passed without further incident. However, if Mikel Riley hadn't made that three-pointer and sent it into overtime, things could have been a lot worse. This would have resulted in the game being completed shortly before the tornado hit, which would have likely resulted in thousands of people exiting the Georgia Dome on the way to their cars at the exact moment of the tornado. They would have been completely unprotected, and it's likely many would have lost their lives.
Wow, man. Completely took the ceiling off this, or the whole top floor, actually. Is this from a tornado?
I mean, look at some of the damage in downtown Atlanta. You would not want to be outside in this. Thankfully, Mikel Riley did make that three-pointer, and it was fortunately just another tornado close call.
Man.
And before we get to number 4, a quick word from our sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. Oof, I recently schools. Many of us in the Midwest remember doing tornado drills in the hallways during our school days. Usually it was just a fun...
No, not me. We never did tornado drills because I guess they're not really much of a threat here in the UK. I mean, we do get tornadoes, but they're very small and very short-lived.
Time where we got a break from the mundane classroom activities. However, these drills serve as an important exercise as tornadoes have a long history of hitting schools. And there are 2 close call tornado school disasters I want to talk about. First off, let's talk about the 1990 Plainfield, Illinois F5 tornado. At around 3:30 p.m., an F5 tornado struck the Plainfield High School, completely destroying portions of it. Briefly before the tornado hit, the football team quickly ran inside and took shelter in a hallway. Meanwhile, dozens of volleyball players in the gym heard an alarm hit by the dean in the office to take shelter. They too rushed into the same hallway as the football players. Right as the last student exited the gym, the tornado completely destroyed the gym. In fact, the only portion of the entire school that survived was the hallway that the students were taking shelter in. What if the dean hadn't hit the alarm? What if the tornado had hit an hour earlier when school was still in session? Unfortunately, 3 faculty members in the school would lose their lives, but the situation could have been much worse. The second close call school disaster I want to mention is Joplin. The 2011 Joplin EF5 tornado was the...
This legitimately, when I look at this, it reminds me of seeing the photos of like Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Like, just the whole city just flattened. That's what it looks like. This is insane, isn't it?
The worst U.S. tornado disaster since the 50s, resulting in 158 fatalities. 2 schools were completely destroyed by this tornado, Joplin High School and Joplin Middle School. The security footage is well known and has been seen millions of times. Thankfully, no one was in either of these schools at the time, as it was a Sunday and the graduation ceremony had already finished. But what if it had happened during the school week? What if it was earlier in the year? The Joplin tornado was a tragic natural disaster, and obviously it wasn't a close call, it was a direct hit of a major populated area. But thankfully there were many miracles from that day that saved hundreds of lives, and it's still good to remember those miracles as well. Number 3, tornado versus cyclones.
Yeah, what is the difference? Isn't a cyclone just another word for tornado?
There is a D1 university in Ames, Iowa known as Iowa State, and their athletic teams are known as the Cyclones. They're literally named after tornadoes. In fact, they actually got that nickname in 1895 after they defeated Northwestern in a football match. A Chicago Tribune's headline read, "Struck by a cyclone." If you're a big tornado fan like me, then I think you'd really enjoy the Iowa State Cyclones football intro. It's actually pretty sweet.
Don't tell me, are they going to spin around? Weather alert.
It's pretty cool. It's got the sounds and everything. Although I feel like if you're a big Oklahoma fan and the Iowa State Cyclones come showing up, it's like, really? We get way more tornadoes than you guys. Anyway, ironically enough, on November 12th, 2005, an F2 tornado came within only a mile of their football stadium. Jack Trice. This was while 50,000 people were gathered for a football game. Iowa State was getting ready to face off at number 22, Colorado, when the stadium had to be evacuated as the tornado sirens went off. Just northwest of the stadium, an F2 tornado lowered from the clouds. Thankfully, this occurred to the northwest of the stadium. Iowa State spokesman John McCarroll said, "We dodged a bullet with the track of that storm." And there's actually footage of this tornado that was captured on the Iowa State campus, so it truly wasn't that far away. This was all part of a rare mid-November tornado outbreak that hit central Iowa. The largest of these tornadoes was an F3 that hit the community of Woodward. Think if that F3 would have hit the stadium. I mean, an F2 would have been bad, an F3 would have been a disaster, and anything more would have probably killed thousands of people.
Seeing all of the debris like flying in the air, like floating almost, I'd be mesmerized by that. Obviously, super dangerous. You want to get out of the way of the tornado, but because I've never seen it before.
There are actually a lot of stadiums that are in tornado-prone areas. Think of the SEC. I mean, Alabama, Tuscaloosa, a tornado came this close to their stadium. Kind of scary. Number 2, the 1995 Texas prison tornado close call. On June 8, 1995, a tornado outbreak occurred over the Texas Panhandle, resulting in 30 tornadoes. A few of these tornadoes are quite notable. One F4 struck the western side of Pampa, Texas, and destroyed over 250 businesses and homes. The tornado was well documented, and several videos can easily be found on YouTube. Another F4 tornado that struck near Kellerville was initially rated an F5, however it was later downgraded after further surveying. And while I could do a whole video on this outbreak, today we are only talking about a specific F2 tornado that dropped.
Yeah, look at that. That's like a typical sort of tornado shape, isn't it?
Down just northeast of Pampa. This particular tornado thankfully took 0 lives and stayed out in open country. However, it came very, very close to hitting the Jordan Unit prison. The close call was captured by Martin Lysius, and a video can be seen here on YouTube. Now, don't let the F2 rating fool you. The only reason why this tornado had such a low rating was due to the lack of damage available for surveying. It's likely that if this tornado hit buildings and caused damage, it would have been rated an F4 or higher. Fortunately, prisons by nature are high security buildings typically made with strong materials, such as steel and concrete. However, that doesn't mean tornadoes haven't damaged prisons in the past. In fact, just recently during the March 3rd, 2020 Nashville EF3 tornado, the historic Tennessee State Prison took heavy damage. This is the same prison where the Green Mile was filmed.
Dead man! Dead man walking!
Man.
We got a dead man!
I watched The Green Mile, I think a year ago. I reacted to it on the channel, and I can't watch that movie again, man. That movie ruined me. Great movie, but yeah, emotionally just too much for me.
Walking here!
Fortunately, this prison has officially been closed since 1992, so no inmates were present at the time. A couple weeks later, on March 18th, a weaker F2 tornado hit 2 prisons in Abilene, Texas. Prisons, like schools, have very large footprints, and this makes them big targets for tornadoes. And the number 1 close call on our list, the massive 2013 El Reno tornado. This particular tornado, I'm sure many of you are very familiar with. It is notable for being one of the largest, if not the largest, tornadoes ever recorded. This massive monster was 2.6 miles wide and also featured wind speeds of 296 miles per hour, making it arguably not only the largest tornado of all time, but also the most powerful tornado of all time. It formed on May 31st, 2013, just west of El Reno, Oklahoma. Its path initially went southeast before rotating north and dissipating. And look, you can even see the tornado scar from space. You might be wondering, okay Jake, how is this even a close call? Well, fortunately, this massive tornado occurred over open country and only managed to destroy a few buildings. This is the reason why it was given an EF3 rating. There just wasn't enough destruction to rate it higher. Okay, now let's zoom out. Here's the path of the tornado, and here is Oklahoma City, a major metropolitan area with a population of 700,000.
Very close, to be fair. So it is, it's a close call.
So you have the largest and most powerful tornado ever recorded, dodging not only El Reno, which would have been also a disaster, but also a densely populated city. Look how close these homes are together. This is how wide 2.6 miles is. A 2.6 mile wide tornado with 300 mile per hour winds going through this city would have killed thousands of people. On top of that, this tornado occurred during rush hour, so there's literally traffic jams throughout the city, and in case you are unaware, cars and tornadoes don't mix. Unfortunately, there were still 8 fatalities, including 3 professional storm chasers, the Twist X team, as well as 1 amateur storm chaser. This tornado was so large that many storm chasers didn't realize they were literally inside of it, and while 4 would lose their lives, many others would suffer major injuries.
Man, oh man. Rest in peace, those
Well, there you
storm
have it.
chasers.
That was 6 tornado close calls. Thanks again for watching.
Yeah, like, even though the last one destroyed, I think he said it was a few buildings, and it did take, I think, 4 lives, considering the close distance between the tornado path and Oklahoma City, it could have been so much worse, couldn't it? So, because when he said, when he mentioned the fatalities, and I was thinking, you can't really call it a close call, but when you zoom out a little bit and just imagine just how bad it could have been, you could probably multiply the number of fatalities probably by like 100 or so. It could have been just terrible. So tornadoes, like, to people like me who've never seen one up close, who've never, seen the devastation they can do in real life, like, people like me often have a fascination with them, a desire to want to see one, in real life. But I reckon it's probably one of those things where you want to see one, you really want to see one, you then see one and see what it can do, and you're like, man, I wish I didn't see that. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.